huge fan of the professional wrestler Ric Flair. And, you know, every day at some point, multiple times, I do a little Ric Flair, woo! And no promises today, but that may or may not happen at some point throughout the service. So if I woo, if you feel it in your spirit, just woo right back at me. So can we do that today, y'all? So I want to practice real quick. I'm going to woo first, and then y'all got to woo back at me. Can we do that? All right, ready? Woo! 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 All right. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. I like that. So I just wanted to, first and foremost, I want to thank Apostle for giving me the opportunity to come up here and speak. Yes. Like Apostle said, last week he happened to catch a video that was up on social media. I happened to be speaking at the University of Delaware at the fellowship that I used to be a part of. And Apostle caught the video and he reached out to me, extended the invitation to come and speak. And I gladly accepted. I was honored that he extended it, so I'm glad to be here before you all. But in this video, I happened to be talking, and it was the day before Good Friday. I was given a little Good Friday message. So if it's okay with y'all, I want to recap it a little bit for y'all before we really get into things. So is that okay? Yeah. All right, let's run it back then. So last week, this was a little over about 10 days, like 2 Thursdays ago, we were looking closely at the life and death of Christ and what that truly meant for us. We focused in on the story of the thieves on the cross. Now this is a story that's known, like people talk about thieves on the cross, but we don't really study it enough, at least I feel like it. And so I thought it was a good passage to go through and really break down, because you don't really Friday looking at the death of Christ. So if it's okay, I want to read that passage for us. So this passage is in Luke 23, verses 39 through 43. Once again, that's Luke 23, verses 39 through 43. So if you got your Bible with you, you can read along. But the passage says, one of the criminals who hung there hurled insults at him. Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us. But the other criminal rebuked him. Don't you fear God, he said, since you are under the same sentence? We are punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong. Then he said to Jesus, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus answered him, truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. This passage really hit me. It's really short. It's not the longest passage in the world, but it's so profound. I feel like it really captures so much of the magnitude and the significance of the death of Jesus on the cross. Here we have a criminal who was justly paying for the crimes he committed. After all he'd done in his life up to that point, laying on the cross, even he could find redemption through Christ. This was the lowest of the low. This was someone who they hung up. To get crucified, this was a really serious punishment for a crime. And even he, in his last moments, could find redemption. So in our lives, sin is like that check that you just can't cash. Because on our own, it'll bounce every time. I'm a money guy, so if we are a bank account, that notice would read insufficient funds every time for the debt that we owe. Wow. But it's only through Christ that all of our debts are truly paid in full. Lord. Woo! Woo! Now, that's all you're going to get from that message. So if you want to watch that, it's on Facebook still. So go catch that, check that out. But that's all we're going to talk about with that. But we were looking at the life and death of Jesus on the cross as we were approaching Good Friday. And then last Sunday was the day we set aside to look at the resurrection. And those are two really good pictures of the gospel. The life and death, and then the resurrection. But that's not the full, complete picture of the gospel. So if it's okay, I'd like to break down the gospel really quick. A lot of times when we talk about the gospel, when we explain it, when we break it down, it might go a little something like this. So in the beginning, we have the story of creation. It was beautiful. It was peace. Humankind lived with God. It was harmonious. It's often referred to as shalom. In this time, we lived with God in the garden. But then humankind was tempted and deceived into acting on that temptation. And then came the fall of man. Sin and brokenness came into the world. We no longer lived with God. We were separated. Then, through the life, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ, our connection with God was restored. The ultimate sacrifice was made. We didn't have to pay the price anymore. And one day, there's a hope that Jesus Christ will return and we'll have that opportunity to experience that peace, that shalom again. Some people call this new shalom. Some of my friends call it shalom 2.0. So this is a picture of the gospel. It's beautiful. This is a holistic view of the story. But oftentimes we jump straight from looking at the resurrection to the ascension of Jesus Christ and then to the second coming. There's nothing wrong with that, but we leave out a very critical gap in time. What happened in between the time that Jesus resurrected and the time that he rose back into heaven? This is a really good chunk of time. It actually says in Scripture that it was a little over 40 days. So it's a month and a half of the story of Jesus, and we don't talk about it enough. So this was instantly, when apostles said, "Can you come speak?" This is what I thought about for, okay, it's the Sunday after Resurrection Sunday. Let's talk about what happened in that time. Now, initially my thought process was, yeah, I'll talk about Jesus teaching the early church and giving them instructions. Yeah. I'll talk about how he was talk about the power of the Holy Spirit, and then what happened with the early church at the beginning of Acts. Yeah, that's what they need to hear. But then something really hit me. The guy was like, no, this is where you're supposed to be, but you're not looking at the right section of the text. So another passage really spoke out to me. So on a little slight tangent, when I was at the University of Delaware and a part of the fellowship that I was a part of there, we would go on these conferences and retreats. And at the beginning of every one, we used to do this thing called an Emmaus walk. Now, I really didn't understand the significance or the importance of it or where they even got the concept from. But the Emmaus walk was you paired up with someone who you didn't know, and you just walked together. And you get to know the person, and you exchange stories of your life and everything. And it was always really good. It was a really good way to bond with people you didn't know. But I really didn't understand the purpose or the significance of it until I read this scripture. So I want to look at Luke 24. So if you have your Bibles with you, you want to listen, it's up on the screen. We're going to look at Luke 24, verses 13 through 31. Now remember, in this time, this is happening just about 3 days after Jesus died on the cross. So put that in the front of your mind. Luke 24, verses 13 to 31 says, "Now that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking with each other about everything that had happened. As they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him." So Jesus is right there walking along with them, but they don't know that it's Jesus. He asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" They stood, their faces downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, "Are you the only one visiting Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened here in these days?" "What things?" he asked. "About Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "He was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And it was more. It is the third day since all this took place. In addition, some of our women amazed us. They went to the tomb early this morning, but didn't find his body. They came and told us that they had seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it, just as the woman had said, but they did not see Jesus." He said to them, "How foolish are you, and how slow to believe all of the prophets have spoken? Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter his glory?" And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. As they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus continued on as if he were going farther. But they urged him strongly, "Stay with us, for it is nearly evening. The day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him. And then he disappeared from their sight. I love this passage here, and this is not a passage that I really studied much or really have seen much until recently. And this passage is so powerful. Here you have two men walking along the way on the side of the road, and Jesus himself walks alongside them. At first they weren't allowed to recognize who he was, but still, he was there, right there beside them. Now Jesus could have come back with trumpets sounding, riding on a big white horse, confetti everywhere, and Jesus honestly would have deserved that kind of welcome back. But no, he came, didn't allow himself to be recognized, and was there on the side of the road next to these two men. Now, this really hit me deeply, because what if I was clueless? What if that was you? What would you be saying to Jesus in that moment? What would he be saying back to you? Would you welcome him in? For some, Jesus might catch us talking about Donald Trump. He might be saying, "Man, I really hate that guy. I wish Trump was out of office right now." Jesus might catch us talking about our boss. "Man, they're working me. Can't stand my boss, can't stand this job, no good, it's a crook." Jesus might catch us talking about our family, friends, our loved ones. "Yeah, I'll come as long as she's not there. Ain't nobody's ever loved me. Ain't nobody done nothing for me." Jesus might catch us talking about our church. Why'd they give him that title? He's doing a little bit too much. And the pastor needs to be about what he's preaching. And all these are real places that we might find ourselves in. How do you think Jesus would respond in that moment? What would he be saying? So when I look at this passage, I see two men. These two men are longing for a Messiah. They're looking for hope. And hope was right there next to them all along. And that's a lot like us. We go through so many situations, and the enemy is constantly attacking us. And we run further and further away from the Lord. We cry out, "Where are you, Lord? Where are you?" And all the while, on our walk to Emmaus, the Lord is standing right there beside us. When I did my talk on our sins and debts being paid in full, we talked about what it truly means to accept and believe Jesus Christ. To truly believe in Jesus Christ, you have to let him come into all of your life. We have so many areas in our lives that we try to hide from God. We get comfortable in our sin, and we never truly let the Lord in. Sometimes we try to dress things up. We try to make it look like it's not that bad. We downplay the significance of the place we're in. We spend our lives running. In sin, running. In our flesh, running. And you know what we're telling God? Oh no, I'm good. I got this. I'm good. You can help out in that area right there. This right here, that's all me. I got that. So how can we truly ever know God? If we only let God in part of the way, we'll never truly know God. I mean, how well can you know someone that you won't let into your house? You let them to the front step. That's good right there. But you can't come through this door. And you know what God's response would be? In Matthew 7, verses 21 through 23, says this: "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, 'Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name? cast out demons in your name? Done many wonders in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. The Lord is there beside us in our walk to Emmaus. The Lord wants to know you. And I feel like we all want to be blessed by the Lord. But yet we keep running. I remember one time I was here and Apostle Nate was speaking. And he talked about, are you in or are you out? Are you going to keep running? Or are you going to stand firm? I need 3 volunteers really quick. I need 3 people to just come up really quick. It could be anybody. We got 1, we got 2, we got 3. All right. You want this table? So I want you to stand right here, face me. I want your arms to go like this. And I want you to come right here. Stand right here. And then I want you to come right next to me. And I want you to shake your head and just keep like. All right, you're going to be trying to pull him this way, so just encourage him to come this way. And then you're just going to be walking just slowly. All right, and then stop for a second, and then I'm going to tell you when to keep going. Now, I can't sing, so I'm going to need y'all help with this part. Can y'all help me out? So a lot of times in our walk, that's God right here. This is us. And you know, we really do want to be with God. I feel like we do. And we might, really cry out to the Lord. We might sing this song. My heart is yearning for your love. Come on. Y'all know this song. One more time. My heart is yearning for your love. That's good. I'm going to change the words a little bit. But the Lord is right here. You can't keep running in and out of your life. You can't keep running in and out of your life. But then we got the enemy right here. And the enemy is saying, keep running. You can't keep running in and out of your life. Keep running. You just going to walk this way. And we walk away. And then the Lord is still the whole while singing that song. But all we hear is, keep running. Keep running. Keep running. You stop right here. And it's not like the Lord is not talking to us. It's not like the Lord is not there. But we're so far away. All we can hear is, keep running. That's good. But what will happen if we just walk this way? Now the enemy is still here the whole time saying, keep running, trying to get us to come back this way. But the Lord is here. The Lord is still right there saying you can't keep running in and out of your life. And the Lord is there with his arms wide open, ready to accept us in. You want people to hear that? Thank you, I appreciate it. So I just want to say, when are you going to stop running? When are you going to let the Lord in? The enemy is there. The enemy is always going to be there. But on our walk to Emmaus, the Lord is right there beside us. Let God in. Let God in. Your journey to Emmaus is your journey through life. God is here with you. God is longing to have a relationship with you. To truly come into all of your life. And that doesn't mean the road is going to be easy. The enemy's going to be right there telling you to run this way. You're not good enough. No, you don't deserve that. No, you don't need to be there. Nope. And the enemy's going to be tearing you down along the way. But you can stand firm. Last week when I spoke, I talked about my own life. And I talked about, the enemy attacks us all in different ways. And for me, You know, I've struggled with depression, and I've had times where the enemy is like, you know, why are you even here? You can take your own life. And last week, when I was talking to them, I brought up the scripture, Jesus in the wilderness at the beginning of his ministry. You just see the enemy is tempting him. Yeah, you can jump from here. Surely, you know, they'll catch you. Angels will catch you. I mean, the enemy was trying to tell Jesus to take his own life. But you know what Jesus did in that moment? He quoted the word right back at the enemy.
Yes. Glory.
He was with God. He knew God was with him, even in the wilderness. And he quoted that scripture right back at him. So that doesn't mean the road will get easy. That doesn't mean your path will be rough, and that doesn't mean all your problems will be solved. But it does mean that, like the thief on the cross, with all you've done in your life, with all the debt you owe, that it will be paid in full. Amen. If you stand firm and stop running.
Yes.
And you know what's going to happen? On that day, just like the thief on the cross, you will be with the Lord in paradise. Amen. Woo! I love that. That's like my favorite thing. And I wasn't going to do this, but if I could the praise team come back up? Could you all come back up? I mean, you guys, earlier today, y'all really hit me. Like, really hit me. And y'all sing the song, Let Praises Rise. And if you can we just hear that one more time? And while the praise team is playing, thank you, praise team, I appreciate you all. I want to have a time for prayer. If you really want to ask the Lord to come into your life today, if you're tired of running, if you're tired of living in the place that you're in, I want to ask you to come to the altar. It doesn't matter who you are, what you're going through. There's no shame in bowing before the Lord. And each of us in this room, we fall short of the glory of the Lord. So if you're willing, come down to the altar and move this aside. And just come towards the altar. If we can get some elders to come up for prayer. Yeah. If some of the elders would just come up and just pray. Just pray. I'm tired of running. I'm going to ask the Lord to come into all of your life today. Right now. pray that we can be less of ourselves and more of you. I pray that we can ask you to come into our lives today, into all of our lives, into every aspect. I pray that we won't just have one foot in, but we can have ourselves fully in. I pray that today, we will stop running. I pray that today we will stand firm. I pray that today we will trust you and know that you are right there along the side, along our way to Emmaus. Lord, I just ask you to open up our hearts. Break down those walls inside of us. Break down those things that are holding us back. Break down those chains that are all over our lives. Oh, Lord, I pray that you just come into all of us. I pray on behalf of all of us in this room, all of those that aren't, all of our families, all of our friends, those that are going through it. Lord, I pray that today, we can know you better. We can know you deeply. We can truly know who you are. Lord, come into all of us. Let us know that our debts are paid in full. You paid the price that we couldn't even come close to paying. And allow us today to come before you humbly, giving all of ourselves. And today is a new day. And today, we're going to give it all to you. I thank you, Lord, and I praise you. Cover everybody in this room. All in different ways. Lord, let this song ring true. Let this song truly be our prayer, be our confession on behalf of ourselves, on behalf of our communities, our families, our nation, our world. All we want to know is you. That we just want to glorify your name and let you fill our lives. So I thank you, Jesus. We praise you. It's in your name. Amen. And while they're still praying up here, keep your heads bowed for a second. I just want to ask you, just across this room, nobody's looking, nobody's watching right now. If you want to accept God into your life for the first time, if you've never formally allowed God to come into your life and you said today, Lord, I want to live a life for you, could you please stand? Amen. All right. Now, stretch your hands if you would like the Lord to do a mighty work in you. Like Apostle was saying earlier, if you need the Lord to really come into your life, if you really are looking for that miracle, that blessing, if you need change, if you need situations to be altered, I just ask you to just stretch your hands across the church today. Open it up and believe that the Lord will rain down blessings. Believe that the Lord can change all things. Believe that the atmosphere in your life can change. Lord, I ask you to come into our minds and into our hearts. Purify us. Allow us to be less of ourselves and more of you. Lord, today, oh Lord, today is our day to give you praise and to allow you to come into our lives. So Lord, everyone that's honoring you with their hands stretched now, I pray that you come down into each of their lives right now. Come down in different ways. And that blessing that they're looking for, I pray that they know the true blessing is that you're right there alongside them on their way to Emmaus. And I pray that they can trust in you and that they can believe you. And I pray that one day, each of us, with our arms stretched wide, will be with you in paradise. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you all. And one last time, before I sit down,